Hi, I'm going to talk about teaching piano today. So the first thing is to always be on time, and by that I mean be early. Teachers should arrive 5 to 15 minutes before each class to prepare the materials and make sure that everything is ready to go. First, you want to greet the students. Establishing a emotional connection with the student is essential for their success later on. So even a quick question like, hey, how are you? How was your vacation? Can start establishing that connection and will be very beneficial down the road. Students should warm up with either their scales, their Hanon, their 2 black note or 3 black note practices, whichever one is more applicable to their level. For these warm-ups, you don't want to be critiquing them too hard. We're really focusing on the technique and their articulation. So again, it really depends on skill level. If this is a younger child in the beginning stages, you want to make sure they can identify every note. If they cannot identify a note, you should stop them and tell them, no, this is a C, this is not a G. But if they're not playing loud enough, if they're not using the proper technique at that stage, you should probably let that slide. Again, for an older student playing Hanon, you want to make sure they're lifting their fingers with precision. You want to make sure that they're articulating correctly, and a little bit more critique in the technique department would be fine. Next, you want to review old songs. This should take about 40% of the lesson because we want our students to have a repertoire of about 5 songs that they can play at any given time. So these songs, you want to give them more feedback on, however, be lenient depending on the age group and level. So if a student shows, a student who once showed mastery on a specific piece but appears to have forgotten some, cannot play at the level that they once could, you should let that slide because they already proved their mastery once. However, again, depending on skill level, you want to make sure that the students are still maintaining some core concepts, that they can still identify all the notes, play them correctly, that they are still counting with the proper rhythm, and that they have a good technique. You want to reward students with high fives or stickers, encouraging words, so that they do not hate piano. Next, you should teach new songs to the students, and each song should be accompanied by 1 or 2 concepts of theory. So these theory concepts can be introduced in the beginning or after you teach the song, but definitely in the same lesson. For showing students new songs, first the instructor should play the song physically and then maybe listen to a recording if the student is very young or if it's a really complex piece. Then the student can clap and count the rhythm, and afterwards the instructor can help the student attempt to play the song by pressing lightly on their fingers. Once the student can play each hand on their own, the instructor can play right hand while the student plays left hand and vice versa, until eventually the student can play each hand independently and then put both hands together to play the song themselves. You also want to start introducing the theory concept that goes along. So we can either print out concepts that are key searched on the computer, or you can provide a theory book and assign pages according to whatever song you're playing. Theory should take about 30% of the class time because it's really fundamental for the kids to have a theoretical background to all the stuff that they're playing. So just because they can play every song doesn't mean they've learned it unless they understand why we can't have 6 quarter notes in a 4/4 bar. As for homework, the policy is very it's very flexible for each student. This is the part where you want to check on the application form whether or not they selected A, B, or C in terms of how serious the student is. If the student is very serious, then homework is almost assumed, and you can send the student home with extra theory and recommend that they practice a certain amount of times for their pieces. If the student is more medium serious, then you can suggest that they practice. You can suggest, well, loosely by saying, if you practice this at home, you can do this and this. The key of the lesson is that you explain to the child how to practice, not so much implying that they must practice. Kids should come to class and learn practicing techniques while they're learning their songs. So the key is efficiency here, right? Like, you want the students to be able to practice efficiently on their own if they choose to do so. However, you should never pressure any kids into practicing because that's really up to their parents. Most importantly, The class should be dynamic. No one should feel overwhelmed or bored at any given time. So you can switch activities as soon as you see that the child needs to switch. You can start playing and then switch to theory, start playing a dynamic clap and counting game, go back to piano, etc. It's essential to be very energetic and engaging with the students, and make sure that they're never It's essential to be engaging and energetic with students and teach things in a memorable way. So if you have to make jokes, sing, dance with them, whatever it takes for the students to understand your concept and remember it for the future. That's all.